about the recycling, right? So I was recently speaking to a founder who is probably doing lithium-ion battery recycling, and he told me that there is this cyclical nature of commodities market, which sort of
Yeah.
influences his business as well,
Yeah.
right? How much batteries can he buy from market? How much is he recycling? At what price is he selling? So I think that makes it not that straightforward business to be, because then there is speculative risk, right? Because it's his call. I don't want to sell right now.
So today, as of now, all battery recycling is mainly a trading business
Yes.
because of, they extract black mass and they're selling it. We need to go down to, extracting all the minerals and then evolve this into the second life of the battery, create our own, cells and battery packs. We still haven't completed that cycle. And therefore, you see the cyclical nature of the business. Otherwise, you would not see it in this manner.
Yeah.
So we're still halfway, where we're only selling black mass. So
Yeah.
you're and that a lot of it is sold in international markets. I remember there was one, article where the government said that you cannot export black mass, and I honestly have not followed to seeing where that situation is today. But the reality is that is where, everything changes once that cycle will complete. Is that yes, we've developed capabilities to create cells, extract minerals, create cells, put them back in the market. Complete the circular economy here.
Right. Right. Because currently the negative side of trading business is it's not fundable because it's too much one person's call.
Historically, neither private equity nor venture has ever funded his trading businesses.
Right.
So
It won't make
the
sense.
margins are too low.
And there is too much risk.
Yes.
Right? Because you may not get the timing right and then you are done.
Absolutely.
Right? So there is no stickiness in that sense. What are some of the areas within EV where you feel founders could still create value, or some areas where you feel that these are like sunrise areas within the EV ecosystem in the coming years?
The short answer to that is every component that goes into an EV. We're importing, let's say, IoTs, controllers, where we don't have some OEMs are still importing the drivetrain or the powertrain. We still need, powertrains locally built with, let's say, new age technology, including battery components, etc. So
Right.
there is definitely a huge opportunity in this space.
So you think the supply chain, the traditional automotive, I mean, by the time you reach like tier 3 supplier, you're talking about 30,000-40,000 supplier or something like that, right? You go tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, you think EV will also be like similarly complex?
There are about 1,500 moving parts in an ICE vehicle versus, let's say, 150 moving parts in an EV. So I do not believe that it can be that complex. But I definitely believe that product technology around each and every of these products will evolve.
Right.
And technology forever is evolution, right? So there is no doubt about that. It's just those companies who are able to continuously evolve into better technology or have good R&Ds will I think have the upper hand.
Right.
And now you cannot have a substandard powertrain or a substandard battery. It's literally your engine of the vehicle. Without taking names, if you say today X, an X car was in the ICE category versus a Y car, why do you say X is better than Y? Right? I think it's a lot to do with the engine. It's a lot to do, with build quality is one piece, but the engine, or let's say their technology that they use. Now, let's say Honda uses VTEC, etc. So you've subscribed that this is a better technology, works better. Now over here, if you have a battery pack, or let's say if you have a substandard battery pack, it's going to affect your range, it's going to affect your charging, it's going to affect everything that that your entire vehicle is made of. So you cannot have a substandard engine, is how I would like to put it.
So that engine technology, that's something which so far we have imported from outside, or this is something where you think India will develop in future or
No,
not?
we're already developing.
Okay.
So we're already developing things. We're still in the phase. I won't say that we have, like we're still not developing cells, but we're developing battery packs, internally in India. We're also developing, powertrains in India.
Yes.
The only thing is that we still have to achieve economies of scale. We still have to achieve a better, let's say, technology substantially that is, superior to what you can import.
Right.
And both these pieces work hand in hand. Also, the piece that connects both of them, the controller, is equally important because your BMS, your controller, all of them, they make both of these pieces talk,
Right.
and eventually help the vehicle move forward. But that is what is extremely important for this industry to evolve.
Right.
So it's not one piece that can solve this problem.
Correct.
It's multiple of these pieces, and there will always be multiple companies that will develop, different kinds of technologies for this. And I think in any case, there is no one OEM that will, no OEM will source from one vendor. They will have multiple vendors. So there will always be an opportunity for a player. The only thing is, will it go down or detail to the level of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers? It is yet to be seen because there are not that many components.
Plus the threshold in terms of the overall
Yes.
vehicle sale is still less. So
Yeah.
we don't know how will that evolve.
If we achieve 30%, we're pretty substantial, and
Right.
we will definitely see a lot of companies in this space.
So if there was a young founder, let's say, because we are in the acceleration space, right? We meet a lot of founders who are at, let's say, idea stage
Right.
or pre-revenue. They're just jamming. We meet them, we help them in shaping the idea, right? If someone wants to build an EV, right? What do you think will be the founder fit in terms of skill set, or how should they think about, let's say, you said component level or something else, right? So one of the key learnings which I have had with EV is that probably in future you need a founder who knows a little bit software as well as the hardware, right? Because some of this you need to know the real hardcore engineering, right? Let's say at the cell level or even at the component level, right? That's my hypothesis. I don't know if that's correct or not. But what do you think if there is a founder trying to build or thinking about building something in EV? What will be your advice when you are, let's say, you meet a founder? Then how will you screen, etc.?
So it depends on the component he's targeting, obviously, right? I'd say that many founders in the space will be new, and they will not have the entire exposure towards, let's say, building this. They would have probably built, some pieces around this in various other industries, right? Whether they come from the automotive industry or whether they come from new age, let's say, companies that are building or that have already built OEMs. It's definitely it's definitely a very unique proposition for everyone. So we are looking, let's say, today at a battery recycling company, and founders are very young, but
With no prior experience
little bit of prior experience
in
right?
manufacturing,
in
or
manufacturing,
Okay.
etc. Right. For us, what's important is what we were trying to see over here is that does he have the right mindset for creating this product? Does he understand the technology behind it? Right. So obviously engineers are preferred, right? Because
yeah.
that's a given. But does he have the right mindset? Is he building the right business model? And success and failure of the investment of the company will actually be dependent on his execution, which today I cannot predict. We have to, sometimes you have to take a call on that, whether, the founder has the capability to execute his business model. It's very, very, difficult. So because there's a lot of on ground activity. So every founder that that we have been, let's say, aligned with, we like to see that they have the capability to execute. And this is the first thing that we tell them, that will you be able to execute this?
And how do you check for that?
So most of the times we're not doing that early where the product is not ready. We're doing, products that are, let's say, prototype at least. I mean, we don't do that early. We do pre-series A, so there's proof of concept is established. But having said that, if the proof of concept is established, we use our ecosystem now to check for their products, whether this product really works on ground, right? I mean, you may build something that's fantastic. If it doesn't work on ground, doesn't have price parity, does not,
Right.
fit the bill, it'll never evolve into becoming a successful business.
Right. That's important. What else is important? So execution capabilities, background in engineering, so that you understand the product. At least if you're talking about components.
Yeah.
What else would you look for?
Well, I'd say that the other thing that I'd look for is that the founder has resilience and clear vision to for I mean, being a founder is not easy. I would, they have one of the toughest lives that I would really say. Put it out there. Not something that. I mean, every VC knows this and probably agrees to it as well. But it's definitely very difficult to, continuously execute day after day. So the top most, characteristics we look at is resilience. Every day is a different challenge.
And how do you judge for resilience?
With numerous conversations, if he bears with us or not, probably.
Because it's also not taught.
Yeah.
Right? Typically, even if you're in engineering or B school, it's not something which is taught, even in schools also. Right? So this comes down to then different mental models, right?
Yeah.
Right? What Charlie Munger calls mental model. Like, how do you think? Basically, it comes down to that. So I think it's difficult to judge that through conversations. No, it's just I think how many times? I mean, probably you meet the founder 3 times, 4 times. In total, you may have like 10 hours of conversation. Let's say.
Yeah. So it's not only about meeting him, right? Each investment, if you look at it from start to finish, from our first conversation to the end, would at least take 4 to 6 months.
Correct.
Right? Over that period, what's very important is we see what he's doing in those 4 to 6 months. It is enough to understand whether he has capability to execute, he has resilience, he talks the walk. Right? It's fairly simple, and that's one of the primary reasons why it takes time to make an investment. But this is factual, and at some point, there is a judgmental call. With the number of people we're meeting on a regular basis, it becomes second nature over time to start understanding the intentions, the understanding, whether what he says is what he does or what he does is what he says.
So to be a good VC professional, then you need to be a good judge of people, to understand people and their motivations.
Not only that, right? You need to understand numbers. You need to understand business models. So, we're digressing though, but to be a good VC professional, you need to really. I think it's an evolution of yourself. right? You don't learn every skill on day one.
Right.
Like even when we started our careers, we didn't learn every skill on day one, right? We mostly thrashing out numbers, understanding business models, and over time this evolves. So it's one of the only industries that is front facing and back end simultaneously.
Correct. That's true.
So though the team obviously speaks to maybe 1,200 people, the point is we probably don't. But if you really look at it, we meet so many people on a regular basis. We have to build relationships. We have to, understand what some of those relationships will bring, will not bring. Some of those relationships become really strong, especially with some of the founders that you invest in. So also understand that in a short span of time, whether this is executable, not executable.
All right. Interesting.
So it's let's say it's analytical conversation.
Always.
Yeah, slightly,
So the guard is always on, like you're trying to navigate different things.
I won't say it's the guard. I think it's a spotlight. Second
Really.
nature. Becomes that you're always, you tend to read into a lot many things as a conversation.
Right.
Try and understand whether and obviously so you may like founders we've met a lot of founders that have over exceeded expectations, right? We've met founders that have not over exceeded, not done that well, etc., but have turned around. So I'd say that once a founder jumps into this game of creating a company, he's an entrepreneur, it changes the entire dynamics because he's putting a lot into it. So the background that you come from, what's the motivation, what allows you to kind of create the company. It's not that we list it down. It's just something that that you have a knack for, and it comes over time. But everything has to align to create a successful company.
That's why it's so rare, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not easy.
Not easy. Yeah. I was recently reading this. Rahul Chandra from Markham Ventures has written this new book about different founders he has worked on. So he obviously doesn't give the name and their companies, but he gives the founder persona, right? So I think he gives these examples, like you're saying, like he goes back to, let's say, somebody grew up in an industrial town in Jamshedpur, and then why that kind of family background shaped his personality a certain way, and then he goes to college, and then he becomes a founder, and all these things tie up later when he is under stress and he's able to block out some things and still stay focused. So it's not normal. As a founder, I'm saying.
The question that is more relevant, or let's say to you, is how do we assess that? Right? Both the founder personality is definitely, I mean, it's definitely shaped him, right? And we need to find, or let's say we need to find the diamond in the rough. It's as simple as that. And we need to figure out whether it's actually shaped him to such an extent, him or her to such an extent, that they have the resilience to continue. And hence resilience is very important. There will be tough calls, difficult decisions, nights without sleep. There will be, I mean, days when you don't know how to pay this month's salary to your team. You've created a 50-member team. What do you do? So I mean, there are a lot of ifs and buts, pros and cons that go into, let's say, creating a company. And the only factor that that allows you to, let's say, strive through all of that is resilience.
Yeah, yeah. I was recently meeting a CEO of a listed company in media space, entertainment space. They do few thousand crores of revenue. So we are having similar conversation. He's also has been investing as an angel large checks directly onto the cap table of some founders, right? So he suggested, that we should do like a psychographic analysis of every founder you want to get. Then you will miss a lot of things, right? Because then your venture building is non-linear, and you're putting this screener over it that only if this kind of personality comes, only then we'll fund it. But you never know. It's not that simple, right?
The cycle is so long that we have to wait to see the
Yeah,
result,
right.
and which
And sometimes
is
the founders also change. They go through
yeah,
immense growth. I meet a founder and then I meet them probably 2 3 years and then they're like a different person. I mean,
yeah,
the core is same, but he's like evolved.
absolutely. I mean, he's learned it the hard way.
Right.
There's no easy way.
Now going back to EV, uh, one of the debates or one of the benefits of EV is with regards to pollution, environment, sustainability, right? Sustainability has become such a broad overarching theme over last at least six post COVID. I see sustainability, especially in the early stage ecosystem. Um, so how do you think EV plays into the whole narrative around sustainability, pollution? One of the perspectives also that since we are largely thermal power generation kind of country, we are just moving the pollution away from crowded cities to wherever the power plant is, right? Because we are still burning coal. So what is your perspective?
Rome wasn't built in a day,
Yes.
right? Every industry will go through its phases.
Yes.
We we're definitely interested in increasing our renewable energy capacity, as we discussed earlier about energy storage, etc. I mean, I think that this industry allows for that development. The questions that the question marks around this is mostly why is it not there today? That is where the problem is. Nothing is going to be there today. Everything will evolve, right? We at least have 20% capacity that goes into the grid. We have 40% installed. We're trying to shift into that. It's going to take its time, and we're continuing to, let's say, install more renewable energy capacity. I can't say that I will not do electric vehicles or we will not move into electric vehicles, because today I don't have 100% renewable energy capacity, or let's say, source of energy is not 100% renewable energy. We would like to think of it as backward integration and forward integration, right? I mean,
Correct.
you need to have both pieces evolve together slowly. So it's not that if or why, it's when. When will we reach the stage? When will we have larger portion of electric vehicles on the road, and when will we have this being supplied by renewable energy?
Right. And as the share of EV vehicles grows across categories, two-wheeler, four-wheeler, commercial, what happens to the legacy OEMs? Will they also shift, or will they take bets? For example, Hero has exposure to some player and then some other player indirectly taking stake.
Well, so I think that has already begun, right? We've seen it over the last couple of years.
Right.
Legacy players, large companies, they take time to evolve. What's most interesting is any conversation that we've had with either an legacy OEM or their, let's say, tier one supplier, etc. None of them are saying that no, we don't want to do EV. They're just saying that, listen, our existing business is pretty large. It's cash flow generating. How much resource can we put on an industry today that's 7%? is where the question is. But we want to watch this industry. It's on our radar. So if you look at it, when disruption happens, it happens in this manner itself, right? When somebody turns a blind eye and, somebody from behind is, suddenly creates a, large organization that takes over your market share. The economics is substantially better, just from an economic standpoint. India is a price sensitive market. I don't see a reason why people will not shift to EV if we have the infrastructure, if things are set up, and we have the supply. Today, I mean, from what we learn from our portfolios, the supply is a constraint. It's not demand.
Got it. That is because of the downstream dependencies on raw material and other things.
Not from, because of manufacturing itself. There is limited manufacturing in itself. There is all limited, let's say viable manufacturing products in the market that are not available, right? I mean, let's say a plant capacity is only 1,000, vehicles a year, 1,000 vehicles a month, but you need 2,000, right? And you may have, 5 companies, but out of those 5 companies, 3 companies are not worthy or their product is substandard.
And for that capacity, you think the money will come from VCs or other kind of investors?
So we're only catalysts.
Okay.
Right? We're obviously early stage catalysts, so we're able to, get them to a certain point. But I think that obviously the best form of money is from your customers. But as the industry grows, these companies are potentially cash flow positive companies. They can recycle their money. They will always need, but for growth, they will need capital. And a lot of that capital may come from investors. It will also, and because being cash flow positive, debt will play a big role. But if you look at it historically, debt has always been a large form of capital or source of capital that has allowed companies to grow, legacy companies to grow. So we can never ignore debt. But these companies inherently being cash flow positive or unit economics positive, at a certain scale, they will start throwing back cash and debt will become amply available.
So that will come from, deepest pockets
Banks,
like banks, NBFC.
yes, absolutely.
That's the deepest pool of capital.
Yes.
For audience watching, VCs are like enablers, but that's the deepest sea.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot replicate every form of capital.
Right.
And you cannot, let's say, even substitute every form of capital.
Right. Because then cost of funding, expected return, all those dynamics are different.
Yes.
If you look at the risk return spectrum,
Yes.
every asset class has a role to play, right?